Magandang hapon po mga kababayan. Kayo'y nakikinig dito lamang sa Radyo Migrante. O di ba? Heto na naman tayo. Ako po si Waynes, kasama nyo sa kwentuhan at kulitan, pati na rin sa pagserbisyo sa bayan.
Magandang hapon ulit sa mga kababayan natin. I hope that you all have enjoyed your lunch or are having lunch with us right now. Nice to see you again. Ako muli po si Ems.
Magandang malumanay na hapon. Ako si Jules. Maaasahan ninyong magbahagi ng mga pananaliksik, investigasyon at syempre mga pasimpleng tawanan na rin para sa ating mga kababayan.
Samahan nyo kami sa ating episode 11 ngayong May 21, 2023 para sa mga usaping nakasentro sa mga Pilipinong kabataan at estudyante. Follow nyo na rin kami sa Instagram pati na rin sa Facebook. Hanapin lang ang Radyo Migrante Toronto at kung gusto nyong pakinggan ang mga dating episodes, bisitahin lang ang aming YouTube account.
At sa part 1 ng episode natin ngayon, maaasahan mo po kami na magbibigay ng top news of this week. Afterwards, we will go through our history. Actually, we'll travel here dito sa Toronto, not in the Philippines this time. And last but not least, may performance break tayo to commemorate Filipino Youth and international students na makikibaka.
Makakasama natin si Javier Jardaleza at Khaira Garcia, parehong international students dito sa Toronto. Malalaman natin sa mga kwento nila ang mga promises ng Canada at yung tunay na struggles na pinagdaanan nila bilang mga international students.
Okay. Sobrang exciting pala ang ating mga mapag-uusapan para sa episode na to. I-welcome na rin natin si Jules, ang ating bagong host dito sa Radyo Migrante. Para naman sa ating top news this week, para sa unang balita from Philippine Star, Canada Foreign Minister visiting Philippines this week. Ang Canadian Foreign Minister na si Melanie Joly ay bumisita sa Manila nitong May 18 hanggang May 21 para umano isulong ang bilateral cooperation sa Pilipinas. Nakipagkita si Joly sa Philippine Foreign Affairs Secretary Enrique Manalo at iba pang miyembro ng cabinet. Isa sa mga tatalakayin ni na Joly at Manalo ay patungkol sa diskarte sa Indo-Pacific ng Canada at ang pakikipagtulungan sa Association of South Asian Nations. Sa pangalawang balita naman, mula sa Bulatlat, De Lima acquitted anew of drug case. Muling naabsuelto si dating Senador Laila De Lima sa kasong may kinalaman sa droga na isinampa laban sa kanya under former President Rodrigo Duterte. Quote, I had no doubt from the very beginning that I will be acquitted in all the cases the Duterte regime has fabricated against me based on the merits and the strength of my innocence. End quote, sabi niya. Ito ang ikalawang drug-related case na isinampa laban kay De Lima na na-dismiss. Ayon kay Phil Robertson, Deputy Asia Director of Human Rights Watch, quote, the cases against De Lima are part of former President Duterte's vindictive campaign to destroy her for daring to investigate the human rights abuses he committed while mayor of Davao City and later as President of the Philippines. Key witnesses have recanted their testimony, admitting that they were coerced to provide false testimony against her. End quote. Ikinutuwa din ng human rights group na Karapatan ang desisyon. Nanawagan din ng Karapatan sa Muntinlupa Court na i-grant na nila ang petisyon for bail para naman maalaw si De Lima sa kanyang temporary release. Para naman sa pangatlo at huling balita, from CNN Philippines, Marcos greenlights importation of up to 150,000 metric ton of sugar. Inaprobahan ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. ang karagdagang pag-aangkat o importasyon ng asukal sa tangkang ma-stabilize ang mga presyo. Batay sa latest price monitoring ng Department of Agriculture, ang 1 kilo ng refined sugar sa mga Metro Manila markets ay nagkakahalaga sa pagitan ng 86 pesos hanggang 110 pesos. Anong masasabi niyo dyan?
Ang pinagtataka ko lang dito, Wayne at M, ay paano naman yung mga magsasaka ng asukal sa Pilipinas?
Agree ako sa sinabi mo. Nakikita na naman natin ang gobyernong nagfo-focus sa pagtangkilik sa interes ng mga ibang bansa kaysa sa mga sariling lokal na magsasaka sa Pilipinas. kahit na ating mga magsasaka ay may kasalukuyang kinakaharap na krisis sa pagkain, sa pagbebenta, lalo na sa pagtaas pa ng presyo ng iba't ibang gastusin sa Pilipinas. Patuloy po kayong nakikinig sa Radyo Migrante dito sa Toronto's Best Filipino Community Program Vibe 105 na tunghayan po ninyo ang mga balita. At ngayon naman, magbalik tanaw tayo sa kasaysayan at kultura ng Pilipinas. Sige, pakinggan po natin.
Hello po ulit. Ako muli po si Ems, bringing you today's segment of Ang Ating Kasaysayan. Tara, let's learn more about our history to remind ourselves that history is not just information of the past, but history is a way na we get to know ourselves as Filipinos and our culture. So, mga friends, Waynes and Jules, I have a question for you. In this segment, we're actually not going to travel sa Pilipinas. We're actually gonna stay locally dito sa Toronto. Are you aware of what happened in July 24 of 2004?
2004, 19 years ago, bata pa tayo niyan. Pero naalala ko na merong news. I learned this recently as well na merong nangyaring pangpatay sa isang batang Pilipino din dito sa Toronto. Tama ba?
Yes, actually, Jules, you're actually correct. On May 21, 2004, Jeffrey Reodica, a 17-year-old Filipino youth, was shot 3 times by the plainclothes police officer that resulted in his death. So sa pangyayari nito, habang nangyari to, Jeffrey actually passed away days after the shooting has happened, where the officer claimed that the shots made were viable, were justified, claiming that Jeffrey and his friends were acting suspiciously and that Jeffrey had a weapon, but conflicting statements actually say that no weapon was found. And kung tutuusin, reports also said there was multiple conflicting statements mostly from the police and eyewitnesses as well. So bakit natin pinag-uusapan ang pangyayari nito? First and foremost, we want to highlight that Jeffrey's death is actually coming up this week and commemorating that justice needs to be served for Jeffrey's death from police brutality. And in history, like when this happened, the death of Jeffrey sparked protests all over the city against police brutality and racial profiling, and called for justice in the Filipino-Canadian community. So through the persistent campaign of his family and community members, it resulted actually in an inquest, which is a special investigation of the actual case called by the Ontario Attorney General. Pero limitado ang naging findings dito kasi some from the facts and the circumstances surrounding the case, nagbigay ng inquest ng recommendations lamang on how to avoid similar incidents. Yet, and I know Wayne's mentioned to me earlier that with Jeffrey's with the inquest, they also was able to release the names of the officers, pero to this day the officer was cleared of any wrongdoing by the SIU, but at the same time yung mga statements or yung mga reports talaga naglalaktaw and contradictory. So that is our short history of this week. Any comments from anyone else?
Una sa lahat, maraming salamat sa pagbigay ng ating kasaysayan ngayong episode na very detailed. Hindi ko lang talaga maintindihan why until now, bakit napaka-prevalent ng police brutality and not just here in Toronto but everywhere else. Pare-pareho yung naririnig natin na sinasabi nila na naglaban, tapos babarilin, and then palaging merong conflicting stories when it comes to their investigations. It just brings the question, who does the police really serve?
And I think it's also good to highlight at this point din, hindi naman din tayo tone deaf sa nangyayari sa komunidad din natin, the police officers that have been slain in the past few months. But the better question to ask, like, why does this violence continue to persist? Many community members highlight that limitado talaga ang social services that is provided to our communities. This includes social services of mental health, affordable living, affordable housing. And I think this is a very important issue that's really gonna be highlighted sa mayoral race na mangyayari this summer. I know that Jeffrey's family released a statement about, in 2020, that they really hope that Jeffrey will always be remembered, and they recognize that the courage of their family and the community demonstrated that our fight against police brutality and racial injustice continues to persist. Justice was not served as the police officer was responsible for taking Jeffrey's away from us, and was not held accountable. We continue to expose the racism and police brutality that Jeffrey experienced in hopes of a better future.
Yeah.
So, and in commemoration of Jeffrey Reodica's death, we at Radyo Migrante continue to honor Jeffrey and his family, and we will continue to call for justice for Jeffrey and for all victims of police brutality. At ayan, ang ating kasaysayan. Did you learn something about your community, about yourself, and perhaps your family? Share nyo lamang dito sa aming Facebook page or sa Instagram namin at Radyo Migrante. And join us again next week to learn a Filipino word. Ano kaya ang Filipino word natin next week? Ako muli po si Ems. Maraming salamat for listening to this segment.
Patuloy po kayong nakikinig sa Radyo Migrante dito sa Toronto's Best Filipino Community Program, A Vibe 105. Maraming salamat, Em. At para sa susunod na segment, lumubog tayo sa ating kulturang Pilipino.
Ngayon naman, para sa kulturang Pilipino, ako si Jules. Nais niyo bang makadiskubre ng mga makabuluhang kanta at tula mula sa iba't ibang musikero at makata? Ang segment na ito ay magsisilbing espasyo para sa iba't ibang pagtatanghal ng mga talento ng ating mga kababayang Pilipino. For this week, we are featuring ang tula or poem by Cirilo F. Bautista in the Likhaan Book of Poetry and Fiction of the University of the Philippines Press back in 2006. Born in July 9, 1941 and passed away on May 6, 2018, si Cirilo Bautista ay isang national artist for literature. He was a noted critic and respected teacher. He was also a literary editor and a columnist for the Manila Bulletin's Philippine Panorama magazine. This poetry is said to be an indictment of a corrupt and oppressive government. Bautista uses big shots to refer to the oppressive government and the forces it uses to enact its oppressive policies. The poem is in the first person, and the speaker represents the ordinary Filipino who wants equality, justice, and good governance. This Filipino is an activist and a guardian of democracy. Some big shots have been using me for target practice. They call it preparing for progress. I ask that my taxes be reduced. Bang! Goes my left ear. I demonstrate against police brutality. Bang! Goes my finger that hold the placard. Floods in Lahar carry my patrimony to oblivion and bury my town. I ask the mayor for an old pair of shoes. Whack! Go my feet flying into the garbage can. I beg for cheaper rice to energize my mouth. Wham! Break my teeth like ice cubes falling against the floor. Democracy is a tiresome habit. I have to stand erect or it will fail. There is no coffee break for the honest. My stomach grumbles for lack of food. Ping goes the light bulb off my mind, and the darkness devours the empty kitchen. Keep quiet, keep still, they hiss at me, as they feed bullets into their angers. Keep quiet, keep still, they hiss at me, as they feed bullets into their anger's chambers. Some big shots have been using me for target practice. Oh, if they would only shoot straight and hit me in the heart for a change.
Gusto ko itong tulang na ipili natin para sa episode na to kasi I think very relevant talaga siya sa mga pangyayari sa Pilipinas pati na rin dito sa Canada, na kung saan itong valid, no, at justified na mga panawagan sa gobyerno. Ang kinakaharap mo, ang resulta, no, ang response sa'yo ay pang-aatake. Dito lang nung narinig natin na ang Alliance of Concerned Teachers nag-request ng 50,000 more classrooms para sa mga kabataan para makatulong sa kanilang pag-aaral. Ang response ng Vice President at also Department of Education lead na si Sara Duterte ay niredtag pa sila at sinasabing hindi makatarungan yung request na yon at hindi raw posible.
Gusto ko lang din duktungan yung sinabi mo, Waynes, dun sa saktong-sakto din siya, swak na swak dito sa ating tula na some of these verses like I beg for food, I beg for cheaper rice, and mind you, this was back in 2006, and until now we are still trying to ask the government for some things like, you know, yung mga usual things, and then nagagagdag pa yung mga iba. Maraming salamat sa pagbahagi ng iyong mga pagninilay-nilay, Waynes. Something I will also reflect on later on. At sana yun din yung mga gawin ng ating mga kababayang nakikinig. Okay, muli ako si Jules. Lagi ninyong maaasahan na maghahandog ng makabuluhang musika, tula at marami pang iba na nagdidiwang ng kulturang Pilipino. Dito lang sa Radyo Migrante, 105.5 FM.
Para naman sa ating pulso segment, pakinggan natin ang mga saloobin ng ating mga kababayan na dumalo noong May 14 sa isang seminar with McLuhan Fellow Karmina Constantino na pinamagatang Revisiting the Basics, the Role of the Journalist in Critical Discourse and Seeking Accountability in a Post-Truth Era. Sige, pakinggan po natin.
My name is Cesar Reodica, Filipino-Canadian. We've been here since 1972.
I'm Olivia or Livy Camacho from Malaya, Canada.
Hermie Garcia. I edit and publish the Philippine Reporter.
Can you tell us where we are and why we're here?
We are at the Filipino Center, Toronto for the McLuhan Fellowship event where we had as our guest speaker iconic Filipino journalist Karmina Constantino, and we had a very enlightening afternoon.
What's your main takeaway in Karmina's talk?
Yes, it's very nice that there are some people in the media who can stand up in their own course and do their duty as a member of the media. And I really would like to see programs like that, hard-hitting media people who can ask tough questions, and not scared.
My main takeaway really is that there is a lot of hindrance to real freedom of the press in the Philippines, and there is still so much fear as far as journalists are concerned about truly exposing the ills in our country. And based on what Karmina said, the Duterte administration really helped to stoke those fears because of their tradition of extrajudicial killings and the repression of the media during his term. And so that now, she said, whereas there is not yet as much red tagging, there is still the reality of big business being in control of the narrative in the Philippines. And so, unfortunately, that is stifling a lot of journalists and a lot of people in media.
Last question. We just want to ask you, so what would you like to see change in terms of the protections for journalists, Filipino journalists, both in Canada and in the Philippines?
That they become less under the control of corporate business interests. Because if it's a business that's running the newspaper, there's no way there can be press freedom. Because the owners of the business that runs the newspaper will always protect their interests. What if they are in alliance with a dictator or the government bureaucrats? They can always suppress what the real journalists are writing. So there's no way real truth can be disseminated without real press freedom. And real press freedom means businesses should not control the journalists. The journalists should have full freedom.
Patuloy po kayo nakikinig sa Radyo Migrante dito sa Toronto's Best Filipino Community Program, Vibe 105. Huwag kayong aalis mga kababayan. Makakasama natin si Javier Jardaleza at Khaira Garcia, parehong international students dito sa Toronto. Malalaman natin sa mga kwento nila ang mga promises ng Canada at ang mga tunay na struggles nila bilang international students. Pakinggan po natin after the break.
Ayan, ako po ang inyong host, si Jules, sa ating Pinoy TaU segment or Pinoy Talakayan at Usapan. Dito natin mapakikinggan ang talambuhay ng ating mga kababayan na migrant workers, international students at iba pa. Halina't pakinggan natin ang fresh na perspectives ng ating mga kababayang Pilipino. For today's featured interviews, makakasama natin ang dalawang international students na sina Javier Jardaleza at Khaira Garcia. Si Kuya Javier, he used to be an instructor for the NSTP or National Service Training Program in the La Salle College of St. Benilde in Manila before he worked in the US in 2016. Sa tingin ninyo mga kababayan, why did Kuya Javier needed to go to Canada to be an international student? Malalaman natin yan mamaya. Si Khaira naman, she worked for 3 years as a preschool teacher in Multiple Intelligence International School in Quezon City. Kahit nung estudyante pa lang si Kai sa University of Santo Tomas, alam na niya na hindi siya magtatagal sa Pilipinas and she have big plans to go abroad to seek out better opportunities. Tara at pakinggan natin ang kwento nila Kuya Javier at ni Khaira.
Magandang araw sa ating mga tagapakinig sa Radyo Migrante, sa iyo, Julia, at sa lahat ng mga inaabot ng ating programa sa araw na ito. Ako nga pala si Javier Jardaleza, 47 taong gulang, isang international student sa Centennial College at kasalukuyang kumukuha ng kurso, diploma in community development work.
Magandang araw, ako po si Khaira Garcia. Isa po akong international student sa Centennial College. Ako po ay 24 years old. Kakarating ko lang dito sa Canada actually just last August.
Bago lang ako rito, I just arrived September 2022 during yung tinatawag natin na fall intake sa aking eskwelahan na pinapasukan. Subalit bago dito ay nakakaroon ako ng pagkakataon na makapagtrabaho sa ibang bansa bago sa Canada, katulad ng sa Estados Unidos noong 2016 hanggang 2022. Dahil yung background ko nga sa Pilipinas ay social work, tapos nagkaroon ng pagkakataon na may isang organisasyon na nag-hire ng mga international staff or workers or professionals. So, yun yung naging pagkakataon ko para makapagtrabaho sa Estados Unidos. Pag isa kang OFW or Overseas Filipino Worker or workers, andun yung kaisipan na solusyon na once na maging OFW ka, unti-unti mo nang maiaangat sa kahirapan ang iyong pamilya at makakaangat ka sa buhay sa ganong orientasyon. At sa bahagi ko, ganoon din. Hindi ako hiwalay at hindi ako iba doon sa milyong-milyong mga OFW na naghangad ng maayos na buhay para sa kanyang pamilya. Kaya yun ang nagtulak sa akin doon sa pagtatrabaho sa Estados Unidos.
So yung pamilya niyo po, kuya, nasa Pilipinas pa po ba sila? Or kasama niyo po ba sila ngayon dito?
Yes, nasa Pilipinas sila at hindi pa sila nakakaalis ng bansa kahit nung ako ay nasa Estados Unidos dahil una, may kamahalan ang buhay pagdating sa ibang bansa. Pangalawa, dapat din silang maihanda.
Ano naman po kuya sa pakiramdam na maiwan po yung pamilya ninyo sa Pilipinas para po mag-pursue at makahanap ng kabuhayan sa ibang bansa?
Sa bahagi ko, no, napakahirap dahil unang-una, kahit sabihin natin na andun yung aking kabiyak o kasama sa buhay, ang aking may bahay o asawa, lumalabas na solo parent siya dahil nga kahit andito ako sa ibang bansa o sa Canada, solo parent, iba pa rin yung andun yung presensya mo sa panahon na kailangan ka ng mga bata, sa kanilang paglaki. May mga bagay na hindi kayang tumbasan ng material na bagay. Bagamat kumikita ka ng sabihin na natin nakakaangat in terms of finances o usaping pinansyal, kumpara ng nasa Pilipinas ka dahil maliit nga yung sweldo, may inflation pa, napakahirap nung mahiwalay ka sa iyong sariling pamilya na habang lumalaki yung mga bata na hindi mo nasusubaybayan at yung isa lang o yung asawa mo lang ang sumusubaybay sa kanila. Matindi yung struggle, pero wala isa ako sa milyong mga OFWs o Overseas Filipino Workers na naging biktima rin ng mga patakaran ng pamahalaan na tinatawag nating labor export policy na sa kaisipan na alam mo yon yung gobyerno na mismo ang gumawa ng batas na nagtutulak para sa mga Pilipino na lumabas ng bansa at magpaalipin sa kabuuan sa ibang bansa. Sa kabila ng napakayaman ng resources natin, napakahusay ng ating mga Pilipino dahil sabi ko nga, ang aking pagtingin kung hindi nagtitiwala ang ibang mga bansa sa mga Pilipino sa kakayanan niya, blue-collar job man yan or white-collar jobs, yung sinasabi nating mga professional, matagal nang pinabalik ang milyong Pilipino scattered all over the world. Pero dahil nga mas lumalabas pa sila, ibig sabihin pinagkakatiwalaan ang kakayanan ng mga Pilipino saan mang bahagi ng mundo. Nakakalungkot nga lamang na kung saan ang kakayanan ito, kasama na tayo, particular ako, na pwede kong iambag yung aking kakayanan sa Pilipinas kaysa dito sa Canada or sa US or sa labas ng bansa na makapagpapaunlad sana. Subalit sa kasalukuyang kalagayan ay mas pinipili ko at ng mga milyong Pilipino na lumabas ng bansa just to augment at tugunan yung financial na pangangailangan. Dahil kung nasa Pilipinas ka, magkasama naman kayo ng pamilya mo, ganun din ibig sabihin yung isip na napakahirap, napakababa ng sweldo, iwang-iwan yung sweldo kumpara doon sa mga expenses. Kahit dalawa na kayo nagtatrabaho, kung parehas kayong nasa Pilipinas. So yun, mahirap yung mahiwalay ka sa pamilya mo.
Sino kasama mo dito, Khaira, nung dumating ka sa Canada?
Ikaw. Yung best friend ko na si Julia, ang inyong kausap ngayon, siya po yung kasama ko. And then, kami lang po kung dalawa ang pumunta dito. It's a good thing that when we got here, we never really thought that someone will be helping us. It will be hard, but it's a good thing we have family here, which is honestly my advice when you go to a different country. It's so hard when you're alone. It's at least okay if you know a little bit of, someone, like connections, because it's very hard, especially for us na bata pa, like 24 years old. Can't imagine how other people did it on their own. So I'm very lucky.
Oo nga, ako pala yung kasama mo pagdating dito sa Canada. So, totoo yun, tayo yung pumunta dito sa Canada last August, diba? Pero, at the same time, iba din yung pagmamahal na nararamdaman natin, no? Kapag andyan yung pamilya natin na sumusuporta sa atin. Sino-sino yung mga pamilyang naiwan mo sa Pilipinas?
So, my immediate family, I left them there. My parents, my siblings, all of them actually. The only family that I have here is my cousin. Tsaka yung pamilya na nabuo niya. Pero buti na Pilipino din yung pamilya niya. So
from the US po, Kuya Javier, paano po kayo napunta dito sa Canada?
Bago pa matapos yung 6 na taon na kontrata ko sa US, ay nag-isip na ako dahil nga yung karanasan ko na yung employer ko doon, ay hindi sila allowed na mag-sponsor ng green card o yung tinatawag nating PR dito sa Canada. So sa loob ng 6 na taon na paghahanap buhay, pagtatrabaho ko sa kanila, walang sustainability yung trabaho ko. Kaya naisip ko na, sabi ko, total, andyan din naman yung Canada, very flexible sila pagdating sa immigration policies. Why not na mag-try ako? Pero nakita ko nga, ang isang usapin ay paano ka legally na makakapasok sa bansang ito.
Opo.
Na pinakamabilis. So, at ang pinakamabilis ay through yung tinatawag nating may mga different pathways. At ang isang pinakamabilis ay student pathway. So, yun. Kaya nung last year pa, bago early part ng 2022, nag-start na ako mag-communicate sa Centennial College, and to make the long story short, natanggap ako dun sa kurso na kinukuha ko sa kasalukuyan. And then, umuwi ako ng Pilipinas ng Mayo 2022 at nag-ayos ako ng mga papers like visa. And then, September 2022, lumipad na ako from Philippines papunta ng Canada. So, yun yung goal na ang nagtulak sa akin bakit sa Canada ay options para maging resident o permanent residence ng bansang ito, and at the same time maging isang citizen maging isang Canadian citizen in the coming years, which is compared dun sa US ay medyo may kahirapan yung polisiya or immigration policies ng US kumpara sa Canada. Sa karanasan ko rito at sa mga nababasa ko ay very flexible ang Canadian immigration policies, pero may pros and cons din. May mga negative at positive side yung polisiya niya.
Bakit Canada, Kai?
The choice to go to Canada was because that's what the Filipino mindset thought is the most convenient and the best choice to go to if you want to have a successful career, especially since teacher ako nung nasa Pinas ako. I was a preschool teacher, and then it was just hard. The pay there was like, especially private school yun. So di ko din na-realize nung na-hire ako na pag private schools pala mas mababang sweldo kasi sa public schools. Like, how? Kasi ang raming, hindi ko dinidis yung mga ginagawa ng mga public school teachers kasi alam kung gaano kahirap kasi nag-practicum din ako dun dati. And then, imagine, estudyante pa lang ako, hirap na hirap ako, paano pa yung mismong full-time teachers. But, the fact that the private schools, they have so many demands and so many high standards for their teachers, but their pay is just like, you can barely live in it. So I was like thinking, with the pay that I was having during that time, I'm just lucky that I lived with my parents. But I cannot sustain my life alone if with my pay as a teacher. As a professional teacher, I passed my boards, I was a professional teacher.
License ka, di ba?
License ako. Pinramis pa ng admin na, pag napasa mo na yung let mo, tataas ang sweldo mo, kaso with COVID, blah, blah, blah. And then that's why I went here, because I just thought, and many people said, that if you go to a first world country, especially US, especially Canada, that yung pay for teachers is much higher and bigger and more opportunities and more benefits and all.
Parang familiar din ako dyan sa mga promises na kapag guro ka ay mas malaki ang sweldo mo sa ibang bansa. Pero
guro ka din kasi. Honestly, kahit naman for me nairita din ako na hindi nila mataas yung sweldo ko, ganun. Pero I can't blame them. It's part of the system, that
nahirapan din sila.
Kasi nga, syempre, private school, so yung pera is coming from their own pockets then. It's just like a family-owned school. And then, if they cannot sustain the budget because of what's happening during the COVID, I understand that they can't give me the raise. And then, I think it's just me that I understand how hard the administration work to help their employees, but sometimes they just can't help it,
So, dahil nga napili mo na pumunta dito sa Canada, pwede mo bang ikwento sa amin kung paano yung proseso?
unang-una is I was planning to go to the US because it's, better opportunities, they said. But it turns out sobrang tagal ng process. So it takes it'll take you like a year. So and I'm thinking like, why will it take me a year? I want to go now because I'm getting old. I'm going to my mid-20s and then I have to do something now. I can't be in my job. Tapos nung nakita ko sa social media about this agency, it was fast. At first it was fast. It was good because they scheduled a Zoom meeting, told us all about what
Free career orientation, no?
Free career orientation.
Yes.
Ganon. Pero yun sa orientation naman na yun, free career orientation, but they don't even I feel like they didn't even really look into. I feel like they wanted to give us the easiest way to go here. Because it boosts their quota or it boosts their image that nakapunta yung mga estudyante nila dito ganun sa Canada ganon. So yun ang sinabi natin, di din kami binigyan ng enough options about the schools that we wanted. Ang saklap pa dun, ang mahal-mahal ng binigay namin sa agency na yun. 95K, sinasabi ko na 95K.
95K pesos.
Pesos. O, 95K pesos. Naisip ko, saan napunta? Kasi ang visa is less than that. Most of it is to them, which they did not even do their work. And nung sinabi na namin sa kanila na hindi kami satisfied sa ginagawa nila and then hindi worth it yung money, they set up a meeting with the head, blah, 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 say, we will help you get the job, blah, blah, blah. When you get here, we got here, nothing, no.
Silent sila, no?
Silent sila. Tapos tsaka na lang sila nag-message after a few months saying na, can we get an update pictures and then let you know that when it comes to PR, blah, blah, blah. We made sure ko sa kanila na because I really love my country. I love the Philippines, and even though that the Philippine passport is very weak, I don't ever want to give up that that identity that I'm a Filipino. So I made sure to them that the reason why I'm here is not because I want to get a PR, but it's because I want to learn. I want to be a teacher. I want to grow my skills. And then, but it's just something that they want to push, and then it's just annoying because to them it's all for money. It's all for money. It's all for image. They don't really care about the people who they're sending to.
So, grabe no, Kuya, I can just imagine kung ano po yung nararamdaman ninyo, yung lungkot at saka po yung pagkamiss sa pamilya ninyo sa Pilipinas. Kailan po kayo huling umuwi?
Ang huli kong uwi ay nitong Mayo 2022. So, last year lang. And then, I just stayed there for 3 months habang inaayos ko yung mga papeles ko sa school, papunta dito. At saka yung mga visa at work permit from Philippines to Canada.
Yes.
So, Mayo 2022 yung huling uwi ko.
So, Kuya, pagkadating niyo po dito sa Canada or dito sa Toronto noong September 2022, nakakuha po ba kayo agad ng trabaho? Nasabihan po ba kayo kung ano yung mga pwede ninyong kunin? At as of right now po, Kuya, ilan po yung trabaho na ginagawa ninyo?
Nung dumating ako dito ng September 2022, of course, inabot pa ng mahigit 1 buwan bago ako nakakuha ng trabaho.
1 buwan?
Oo, mahigit 1 buwan. Tapos nakalagay kasi dun sa study permit ay may annotation doon na you can work not maximum of 20 hours per week nung hindi pa lifted yung tawag dito, policy na yon na all international students in Canada can work in a week maximum of 20 hours.
Yes po.
But by November, it just got lifted. Tapos, mahigit 1 buwan na ako nagtatrabaho noon, kaya nag-work na ako beyond 20 hours dahil lifted naman na yung polisiya.
Apo.
Sa bahagi ko, sa karanasan ko ay kumaga September nag-adjust ako ng halos mahigit 1 buwan. Nag-adjust ako sa environment, nag-adjust ako sa Toronto life, nag-adjust ako sa buhay sa eskwelahan. So, andun yung 1 buwan na yon. And at the same time, nag-a-apply na rin ako ng trabaho. And then by September, after October, mid of October or third third week of October, nagkaroon ako ng trabaho sa Mississauga.
Yes.
So, malayo siya. Halos 2 oras. 2 oras, one way lang. So, hindi naman ako naging mapili sa trabaho dahil nga sa background ko na social work sa Pilipinas. Nakapagtrabaho ako sa isang non-profit organization na nagki-cater sila sa mga youth na may like physical disabilities.
Yes.
So, halos 2 buwan lang ako doon dahil nga ang isang usapin ay yung layo. Kasi sila yung unang tumawag at nag-hire, hindi ko na pinahindian, hindi na ako namili. Dahil ang goal ko talaga ay makahanap ng trabaho dahil unang-una, very expensive ang buhay dito. Dagdag mo pa yung nangyayaring inflation. So, siguro yung katangian ko na very flexible pagdating sa work at hindi ako naging mapili. Pero yun yung time na nakakuha din ako ng trabaho. Pero yun nga, first time ko kasi ma-experience yung ganong distance ng pagtatrabaho.
Ang layo.
Sumuko din yung katawan ko na 2 oras ang travel from Toronto, from downtown to my workplace, and then another 2 hours from workplace back to Toronto. Kaya sabi ko, hindi siya compensated.
Yes po.
May times na nakakatulog na nga ako sa bus. Minsan may mga karanasan ako lumalagpas ako sa bus stop dahil sa pagod. So, ayun, but you have no choice kasi kailangan mong magtrabaho. Tapos, hindi ka pwedeng mamili. Kaya kung mamimili ka, baka ilang buwan na ang lumilipas, wala ka pang trabaho na nakukuha. So, nag-decide ako na lumipat sa Toronto, and then by December, nagtatrabaho ako ngayon sa mga elderlies na merong mga tawag dito yung as a service worker, yung kanilang mga katangian ay meron silang mga personal disadvantages na kailangan ng assistance. Sa ngayon ay 2 ang aking trabaho.
At dyan muna natin tatapusin ang featured interviews of Filipino International Students Part 1. Ano naman sa tingin ninyo mga kababayan? Para sa akin, it is something to reflect on. How different migrant stories are, but still, ultimately, we want the same things in the end. Napakinggan nga natin mula sa experiences ni na Kuya Javier at Khaira na we are here for better opportunities to help out ourselves and our families dahil mahirap kang mabuhay sa Pilipinas. I am also an international student and I've been here in Toronto for 9 months. I am starting to get it in a different perspective, I guess you can say in a migrant perspective, how it is still bitterly difficult to live outside of home. And to hear more from Kuya Javier and Khaira, pakinggan po ninyo ang part 2 ng kanilang kwento next Sunday on May 27. Kita-kits! Maraming salamat muli sa inyong pagsubaybay sa aming segment. Ako muli si Jules, naghahatid sa inyo ng mga fresh na perspectives sa ating Pinoy talakayan at usapan o Pinoy TaU.
Maraming salamat muli sa pakikinig at maraming salamat kay Javier Jardaleza at Khaira Garcia. Nakikinig kayo dito lamang sa Radyo Migrante ng Vibe 105.5 FM. Siyempre, to stay updated sa happening sa ating community, ito ang mga events at announcements. Unang-una, let your voices be heard and join us at the Filipino Community Town Hall with Toronto Mayoral Candidate Olivia Chow titled Ating Lungsod, Ating Boto. This town hall meeting will be held on May 28, 2023 sa Steelworkers Hall sa may 25 Cecil Street from 2 p.m. hanggang 5 p.m.
The venue is wheelchair accessible. You can also RSVP online through www.bit.ly/atingboto. We hope you can join us as you would make such valuable contribution to the discussion.
Pangalawa, sa June 2 naman, abangan ang Instagram live stream ng Filipino Kids Health upang talakayin ang importansya ng nutrisyon ng mga bata. Para po masubaybayan ito, maaari niyong i-follow ang kanilang Instagram at filipino.kidshealth. At pangatlo, sa June 3 naman ng 12 p.m., ang Justice for Workers ay mag-oorganisa ng isang rally sa may Nathan Phillips Square to tell the Ford's government that enough is enough. Let's join the rally all over Ontario to win better wages and affordable living for all.
For more information, visit justiceforworkers.org/enoughom.
At sa June 3 at June 4, mula muli ito sa Filipino Kids Health, magkakaroon sila ng Filipino Kids Health Family Photoshoot. Ang layunin ng photoshoot na ito ay para sa stock photos at mga videos on their socials and website.
Inaanyayahan ang mga interesadong kababayan natin na may mga pamilya dito na mag-sign up sa Our Kids Health at unityhealth.to. Gift cards will be given to those who participate. Inuulit ko po, maaari kayong mag-sign up sa Our Kids Health at unityhealth.to. Interesado ba kayong maging bahagi ng Radyo Migrante? Halina't sumali sa Radyo Migrante Collective. There are open positions for new researchers, scriptwriters, interviewers, co-hosts, editors, and social media coordinators. Message nyo lang kami sa aming Instagram, Facebook, or email. Mahahanap nyo kami as Radyo Migrante or Radyo Migrante Toronto on different social media platforms.
At dito nagtatapos ang isa na namang makabuluhang episode ng Radyo Migrante. O di ba, kaka-hello pa lang, mag-goodbye na agad. Nabitin din ba kayo? Sige, ipagpatuloy na lang natin ito next Sunday ulit. 1 to 2 p.m. Nandito lamang kami, Radyo Migrante.
Ayan, ako ulit si Jules. Una malumanay, pero hindi na naging malumanay later on.
Sa tulong ng mga kababayan natin na bumubuo ng Radyo Migrante, kay Javier Jardaleza at Khaira Garcia, at higit sa lahat sa inyo pong mga nakikinig sa Radyo Migrante tuwing linggo mula 1:00 hanggang 2:00 ng hapon, maraming salamat po.
At para po sa ating huling awitin, pakinggan po ulit natin ang Migranteng Pilipino ni Carl Ramirez. Hanggang sa susunod mga kababayan, muli,
Mabuhay po kayo at mabuhay ang bayang Pilipinas!